Ex-BF had a wife and baby, but 4 months ago, he passed away and willed his entire estate to me. So now, my ex-boyfriend's lawyer slid a manila envelope across the polished mahogany table, and I swear the air in the room turned to ice. 4 months ago, Daniel died in a car crash, and now here I was, sitting in a law office that smelled of old money and regret, about to inherit everything he owned. I hadn't seen him in 3 years. Not since he cheated and I walked away. So why me? The lawyer, a gray-haired man with a face like a tombstone, cleared his throat. Miss Harper, he said, Daniel named you the sole beneficiary of his estate, including his house, investments, and savings, totaling $8 million. My stomach dropped. $8 million. I was a barista, scraping by in a one-bedroom apartment with a leaky faucet. This had to be a mistake, but the lawyer's eyes were steady, and the papers in front of me were real. I glanced at the woman sitting across the table. Daniel's widow, Claire. Her face was a mask of fury, her hands clenched so tightly her knuckles were white. Next to her, in a stroller, was their 6-month-old daughter, Lily, oblivious to the storm brewing around her. I wanted to disappear. Why would Daniel do this? Why would he leave everything to me and nothing to his own family? 3 years ago, Daniel and I were in love. We met in college, bonded over late-night study sessions and cheap coffee. He was charming, with a smile that could melt glaciers and a laugh that made the world feel lighter. We planned a future together, a house with a garden, maybe a dog. But then I found the texts on his phone, flirty messages to a coworker, and my world shattered. I left him without looking back, or so I thought. I rebuilt my life, piece by piece, working at the coffee shop, making new friends, convincing myself I was over him. Then the call came 4 months ago. Daniel was gone, killed instantly when his car skidded off a rain-slicked road. I cried for days, not just for him, but for the version of us that once existed. I thought that was the end of it, until now. Claire's voice cut through my thoughts like a blade. You knew, didn't you? She hissed. You planned this with him. I shook my head, my mouth dry. I swear. Claire, I had no idea. I said, I haven't spoken to him since we broke up. Her eyes narrowed, and I could feel her disbelief like a physical weight. She was beautiful, even in her anger, with sharp cheekbones and dark hair pulled into a tight bun. But there was something broken in her gaze, a grief that went beyond losing Daniel. She was losing everything else too, her home, her security, her daughter's future. All because of me. The lawyer interjected, his voice calm but firm. Mrs. Thompson, the will is legally binding. Daniel was explicit in his wishes. Claire's laugh was bitter, almost a sob. His wishes, she spat. What about my wishes? What about Lily? I looked at the baby, her tiny hands clutching a stuffed bunny, and my heart twisted. This wasn't right. I left the office in a daze, the envelope burning a hole in my bag. Outside, the Seattle rain was relentless, soaking my coat as I walked to my car. I sat behind the wheel, staring at the document. Daniel's signature was there, bold and unmistakable, dated just a month before his death. Why hadn't he told me? Why hadn't he changed his will after marrying Claire? After Lily was born, I drove to the address listed in the papers, a sprawling estate in the suburbs, all glass and stone, nothing like the cramped apartment we'd shared in college. The house was empty, the movers already clearing out Claire's things. I wandered through the rooms, each one more opulent than the last. Marble countertops, a grand piano, a nursery painted in soft pastels. I found a photo on the mantel, Daniel holding Lily, his face lit with pride. My chest ached. This was their home, not mine. That night, I couldn't sleep. The weight of the inheritance pressed down on me, heavy as the rain outside. I thought about Claire, about Lily growing up without a father, now facing a future without stability. I thought about Daniel, the man I'd loved, the man who'd betrayed me, The man who'd somehow chosen me for this impossible burden. By morning, I'd made a decision. I called Claire and asked to meet. She agreed, her voice cold but curious. We met at a park, Lily asleep in her stroller, the air crisp with autumn. Claire sat on a bench, her arms crossed, her eyes wary. I took a deep breath. I'm not keeping it, I said. The money, the house, all of it, it's yours and Lily's. Her jaw dropped, and for a moment, she was speechless. Why, she finally asked, her voice softer now, almost fragile. Because it's the right thing. I said, Daniel made a mistake. I won't let his daughter pay for it. Claire's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry. Instead, she reached for my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. Thank you, she whispered. I nodded, my own throat tight. We talked for hours about Daniel, about the life they'd built, about the pain of his loss. I learned Claire was a nurse, working night shifts to support Lily. I learned she and Daniel had fought often, his charm masking a restlessness that never settled. I told her about our breakup, the betrayal that had broken me. By the end, we weren't friends, but we understood each other. I felt lighter, like I'd shed a weight I hadn't realized I was carrying. But the story didn't end there. A week later, the lawyer called again. There was a complication. Daniel had left a letter, one I hadn't seen, tucked away in a safety deposit box. I met the lawyer at his office, my stomach churning. The letter was handwritten, Daniel's familiar scrawl filling the page. It read, Emily, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry for everything, for the lies, for the pain, for leaving you with this mess. I never stopped loving you, even when I didn't deserve you. I married Claire because it was the right thing, but my heart was always yours. This money, this house, it's my way of making things right. Please take it. Live the life we dreamed of. I sat there, stunned, the words blurring as tears fell. He'd loved me all along, but he'd built a life with someone else. He'd chosen me in death, but not in life. It was too much, too late. I showed the letter to Claire. I didn't have to, but I wanted her to know the truth. She read it in silence, her face unreadable. When she finished, she handed it back. He was a fool, she said quietly, but he was our fool. We both laughed, a sad, broken sound. Together, we decided to split the estate. Half would go to Lily's trust fund, ensuring her future. The other half, I'd use to start a community center in Daniel's name, a place for kids like Lily to grow, to dream, to heal. It wasn't perfect, but it felt right. Months passed. The community center opened, a bright space filled with laughter and hope. Claire and I stayed in touch, not as friends but as allies, bound by a shared loss and a shared choice. Lily was growing, her smile a mirror of Daniel's. Sometimes, I visited the center and watched the kids play, feeling Daniel's presence in the air. I'd made peace with his decision, with the love he'd left behind, with the life I was building now. But late at night, when the world was quiet, I wondered, had I done the right thing? Was it fair to Claire, to Lily, to myself? I'd chosen to honor Daniel's memory. But at what cost? What do you think? Was I right to share the estate? Or should I have kept it, as Daniel wanted? Should Claire have fought harder for her daughter's future? Or was our compromise the best path? Share your thoughts. I'm still grappling with mine.